Okay, I stopped out here in a field of roughly March 23rd planting corn. In this particular case, I think this is a 13777 field that we've got here. Corn, lots of the March planted corn is kind of in this stage. We've got tassels that are fully exposed. We've got silks that are here. We've got a lot of pollen that's been flying around in here, so we're starting to see the brown silk just kind of starting to appear, or the colored silk start to show up. To me right now, this is a good time to make a fungicide application. Interesting, you can see some Japanese beetles there. Got some there that have been feeding, a few that are there. Not terrible beetle pressure out here, but there are some that are, as noticed on the way in, and a few that are in here kind of a little more on the interior of the field. So I'm not overly concerned with Japanese beetles, unless they're starting to affect that pollination piece of it. So one like this where it's eating off all the silks, hopefully that kind of caught the pollen before that. But majority of these around here, silks are still in great shape, so I don't see this being a level of pressure there that warrants a treatment for Jap beetles necessarily. If you're making a fungicide application and you want to throw some insecticide in the tank, wouldn't have any issues with that. But the question I get a lot is just, when do I make that fungicide application? I know a lot of the academia and the research would show that about R1, or as soon as those, or even VT, when those tassels are first exposed, is the time that they want to see those applications being made. Myself, I like to hold off a little bit on the front side of it, get to this brown silk phase, or even a full brown silk to where it's fully pollinated, and kind of get more in that blister stage before I pull the trigger on my fungicide. My logic in that is our green fill period is about 55 to 60 days, kind of roughly somewhere in that range, but 55 is a good number that I've seen, expressed a lot there. So that's from the time the tassels are first exposed till black layer. So you got 55 days worth of grain fill. If you can buy yourself, 7 to 10 days on the front side of it, which is generally what it would take to get a nice dark brown silk on here, that leaves you about 45 days worth of grain fill that you have to protect yourself for. If you're using one of your good three-way products, if you can use that, you got roughly 4 weeks of protection in there, give or take a little bit. That leaves you basically 2 weeks at the end of the grain fill period that you would have, that you wouldn't be as protected. All right. If you're using more of a good two-way, something that's got about 3 weeks worth of residual to it, Approach Prima would kind of fall into that category. Then you've got about 3 weeks on the back side of that would be unprotected. If you're using a generic, you're going to get 2, maybe tops to 3 weeks out of that with protection. So you've got even a longer window of exposure on the back side of that where you're not protected. So myself, I like to hit it once with the good stuff, at least a good strong mid-tier product like Approach Prima, or even better, one of the three-ways like our Forcevo product that we have. There's several others in the market as well. But to me, if I can get to this stage, hit it once with that part of the good stuff, I got a really great window of protection there against the 2 biggest yield robbers that we have, which is tar spot and then southern rust, which we had plenty of last year. So to me, that's kind of when I like to make the application. Again, there are some Jap beetles out here. You see a little silk feeding there, kind of going to this next row here. But overall, there's a lot of silk that's still here, so that pressure, that Jap beetle pressure, is pretty mild. So wouldn't necessarily warrant an application just for that. But if you're making a fungicide application, not a bad time to make an insecticide application there. Just kind of throw it in the tank since you're making that pass. So again, not seeing a lot on our disease tracker model. We're seeing a little bit of gray leaf spot exposure starting to tick up. A little bit of northern corn leaf blight around, but again, really not seeing much of that out here at this moment. Got nice warm weather here in the forecast for this week, so this corn really should start to take off and really start to get heavy into this pollination window. So just kind of wanted to take a minute, step out here and kind of let you see what I'm seeing. If you got questions on anything, or you need some help kind of making that fungicide recommendation, or you need help walking fields or identifying any diseases out there, feel free to reach out to myself or any of the Pioneer team. We'd be glad to help you out. So thanks for your time. Hope you find some information here you can use. Thank you.